Hi, welcome to Management 6140. This is the lecture video for Chapter 1. The Chapter 1 is actually focused on giving you a big picture about what operations and supply chain management is, and it can be divided into 4 parts. So the first part is just give you like several definitions and a sense about what operation supply chain management is, and also just help you to clarify the operations versus supply chain and some main elements and to figure out the goods and services. And then we move to the second. The second will be kind of like some potential career opportunities in operations supply chain management. After you learn this course, after you graduate, what kind of job you can find like in these areas, and it also will be help you to have a better understanding about what it is. And then the third part is about kind of like history of operations management, but this is not kind of like the regular or the normal history. It's points all the important factors of operations supply chain management out. So it just gave you, I mean, kind of like the thoughts about what are the important factors the operational manager they care about across the time. And the last part will be several terms or the concepts related to one of the topic we always care about in operations and supply chain management, which is efficiency stuff. And for chapter 1, because all of them are the conceptual parts, so except for what I list on the slides, you may need to also read the textbook. But when you prepare for the test one, so you don't have to read the textbook again. You can just need to review the PowerPoints I provide to you. Then you just like find the topic I list on the slides. Then you just need to go over those concepts, terms I introduced. You don't have to read the textbook again. Okay. So let's talk about the big picture of operations. On this slide, I give you a few sentences to describe it. And in briefly speaking, operations and supply chain management is kind of like the designing operations improvement of the system that can create the values, which means like you probably produce some products or provide services to your customers. And we need to be very clear that operation supply chain management is actually a function field of business, just like marketing, just like the finance is functional field. And it has a clear line management responsibilities. It helps you to make a plan of production, help you to provide the services to the customers, to talk with your vendors, the logistics staffs, and so on. And it actually kind of a field which you work with people instead of only focuses on the units, the items, and it's considered concerned with the management of the entire production or the delivery system. So it work with people as well. In this slide is actually I just gave you like 2 examples about supply chain network. So the first example is comes for a service industry, while the other is for the manufacturing industry. So for the whole supply chain network, you need to find the focal company, then you will be able to figure out the suppliers for the upstream and the customers for the downstream. But we may have different tiers of the suppliers and the customers respectively. So these 2 examples here will be very helpful for you to get more sense about what supply chain is. Now let's figure out what kind of main activities, like if we focus on operations and supply chain, what we really focus on. Briefly speaking, we focus on 3 things: the strategy, and then the detailed processes, and all the support functions, such as like you do some analytics to help you to improve it. So the last part here, the analytics, is helps you to figure out if there is any problems you need to fix or how to improve the whole operations processes you are having right now. So those 3 level stuffs we focus on when we talk about how to manage your operations and supply chain. So we develop the strategy, and then we make plan for the detailed processes or the specific projects. Then we move to do some analytics. This is kind of a circle. You just keep doing it. And what kinds of questions you will be able to find the answers through the whole class is here. So our class is actually divided into 4 parts. The first part is about the strategy. This is what we will focus on for the first 2 weeks, the chapter 1 to 4, and then we move to the second and third part, which talks about the detailed process, just like the levels I give you. So the detailed process. So we focus on the manufacturing or the service process for the part 2. Then we move to the third part, which is the supply chain process. Then we just talks about how to make planning and control the whole stuffs over there. So this is the part 4. The part 4 we will focus on like inventory management and others. So this is actually all the contents we will learn for this course, and this is also the main contents looking in our operations and supply chain management. And what is operations? What is supply chain? So a very easy way for you to kind of like figure them out, classify them, is operations is kind of like the process. So it's really like the black box which you transfer the inputs into the outputs. So all the things relates to that black box relates to how you produce or provide something. This is what we focus on for the operational aspects. On the contrast, supply chain focuses on the movement. So it's kind of the movement of the information or the materials you have across the whole process. So this is supply chain. So logistics, which we talks about transportation stuffs, this is relates to supply chain. If we talks about the manufacturing process, this is focuses more on operations. For any operations and supply chain, we have 5 main activities. They are planning, sourcing, making, delivery, and returning. And we also, this is how it looks like. They actually work with each other. Like you make a plan, then you start to purchase the materials, then you make it, then you deliver to the customers, and you also give some like supporting to the customers when they find like any problems or issues, they can return it to you. And this is also return, also like includes the information return, like the demand in the future and so on and so on. And we have a model we call SCAR model, supply chain operations reference model, to help you to figure out those 5 main activities. So they are directions showing on these models as well. So for the plan, source, make, delivery is always for the upstream to downstream, which means like for the suppliers to the customers, while the return is just like for the customers, the downstream to the supplier, the upstream. This is what we call SCAR model. This model also illustrates those 5 activities here. In general, like actually nowadays we just like update the SCAR model a little bit. This is what we call the new version. So this new version gives you like, this is actually looks like the circle, not a straightforward direction for each of the activity, because they actually work with each other together. And the next part for the part 1 is how to distinguish the service and operations. So for the service and the service and physical goods. So the service here is kind of like something you experiences, but the physical goods is something more than like you use it. And we have 5 things you can consider to use them to classify it is a service or it is a manufacturing. And in general, we don't have too many, nowadays, especially nowadays, like most of the industry, they kind of like a combination. They may be more close to service industry or more close to the manufacturing industry, but most of them is actually along with these diagonals. It's not like pure service or not the pure manufacturing. And those 5 things you can use to illustrate or classify if it is a service or if it is a physical goods of the manufacturing. They are first the degree of tangibility. So if it is tangible, you can smell, you can touch, or it's something you just pure experiences. If the degree of tangibility is really high, means you can touch it, you can smell it, you can see it, then this is what we call this more like a physical goods. Otherwise, it's service. And the second is a degree of customer contact. So if you have a really, really high degree of customer contact, such as like when you do the manicure, you just need to keep like talking with the service providers to make sure you got the right things. So you have another the contacts with the service providers. On the contrast, if you buy something like you buy a pen or a pencil for Walmart, you probably don't have the opportunity to talk with the people who produce them. So this is kind of like the second thing you can use to distinguish them, the customer contact degree. Otherwise, we also have 3 things here, like the service delivery is hard to control, and it cannot be stored and it cannot be shipped. And the following a few slides is just give you like several like the ideas about what kind of service business. For example, like the business impacting human bodies or direct the physical products. So you don't have to spend too much time on it, but when you prepare for your test one, when you just read the textbook, you probably just take a look with the examples for the different categories of the service business. And the next slide, you just gave you examples about like the manufacturing industry, the pure service industry, and the industry is more close to service or the industry more close to the manufacturing. So this is kind of give you some examples to help you understand the difference between these 2 different industries. And the second part for chapter 1 is the careers. So this is the part you may need to go back to the textbook to find more details about that. And in general, potential careers in OSCM is actually relates to how to make pen, how to produce, how to distribute the goods and the services. And this slides gave you like all the areas, the specialist areas, like especially in our operation supply chain management. And this is also give you something like some ideas about what kinds of potential opportunities, career opportunities in this area. And what you need to be very careful like about this is different kind of like the possible careers in OSCM. So what you need to do, you just need to go back to the textbook and take a look about the detailed description for each careers here. And what I like to emphasize is the COO. So the COO is actually work with the CEO in a company and will help to make decisions about the location, facilities, the vendors, the supply staffs, and the implementation of the hiring, even like for the workforce, like policies here. So this is about the careers in OSCM. And this practices help you to just like check if you understand the difference, like the work career opportunities here. And this discussion can help you to find more like the job in the OSCM areas, just give you more sense about what it could be. And the next part for the chapter 1, I like to give you introduction about the history. So even I call it the history, is actually a map across the year to point the important factors out. So back to 1970, this is the first time like people who run business, they recognize that they probably need to pay more attention about how to improve their efficiency, then they can produce more based on the limited resources. And this is like the first time like they start to consider how to manage it, and this is manage our operations. So back to 1970, this is kind of like the manufacturing strategy development. So we focus on the efficiency, effectiveness, the productivity, and so on and so on. And later on, we have just in time, which proposed by the Japanese company, but also like the Henry Ford, they also like provides like ideas related to this areas. Nowadays, we probably more call it as lean operations, which means like how to reduce the waste. Then you can produce more. As well as we also care about the quality, the nature on the Six Sigma. They just give you like the certification or kind of like the ISO 9000 certification to help you to evaluate the quality. And then we move to like the engineering of the business process because the global stuff. So we talked about the electronic commerce, the global business, the supply chain management. We found vendors out overseas. We just like build the facilities in other countries to help us to reduce the cost and so on and so on. And then move to the sustainability is how to sustain the values, and as well as like the environmental, those triple bottom line stuffs, like how to protect our environment, how to just like make contributions to the whole community when you do the business, as well as the economic. Then nowadays we more talk about like business analytics. So how can we use the information or the data we have to make a more feasible or a better decisions in the IoT. So based the current like the how to use the internet to connect the things to control and to make a better production strategy. So for this part, I highly recommend you go back to the textbook and read more details about it. And this slide just lists all the things I just mentioned here for this map. And then what kinds of issues, current issues like in our areas, in our operations and supply chain management. So for the 17th, like recently, because we have pandemic based because of the COVID-19. So I'd like to add one more issues here is kind of like the sudden pandemic, like the disruptions for the whole business. And the second is kind of like the uncertainties, like especially actually nowadays we just like do a lot of global business. So the global tariffs and regulations for different countries and across the different time, they always keep changing. So it's also a kind of challenging right now. And how to hire the talent employees and keep them is also another issues. The last one I like to talk about like the the changes in the technology perspective, especially like nowadays, like in the past 2 years, we always talk about how AI changes our life and how it could change our life and so on and so on. So we need to, as the operation people, we always like embrace the technology, the new technology stuffs. We always like adapt ourselves with the changes. So this is another issues we also need to think about. And then last few things I like to give to you is like a few terms about like one of the important factors we always care about like in our operations supply chain. They are efficiency, effectiveness, and the value. Efficiency means like you doing something at the lowest possible cost, while the effectiveness means you doing the right things to create the maximum value. And the value, here we just like define it as the quantity divided by price. And what is the quantity? Even I give you one sentence here, but later on when we learn quantity management, you will be able to figure that out. So the quantity, in generally speaking, is can actually kind of a term that customer use to describe or describe their specification with the products or the services you provide. So this is what we have. For the kind of the chapter one, the slides over there just gave you like a few more like kind of the things about like this is actually come for the case exercise, the end of the chapter. So they just gave you like how the Wall Street like they just like evaluate the efficiency stuffs based on some financial factors. If you feel interested in it, you can just like check that case at the end of the chapter one. In several terms you may need to go over, like what does mean earning growth, the profits, the benchmarking stuffs, as well as three turn over those financial, or we call the efficiency factor, to help you to make decisions or to get some ideas about how your performance is. Okay, so this is all the things I'd like to introduce for you for chapter one.